Okay. All right. Hold on. There's more people. Okay, everyone. So it's great to have you here. It's our third gathering, so it seems like it's going pretty well. So just want to change this so it's on speaker. There we go. So great to have you here. And obviously, if you come back, like a few of you have come back, means there's some resonance with whatever we're talking about here. And what are we talking about here? And what are we doing here? First of all, I want to tell you very clearly is that this is really not a teaching thing. This is not about walking away with anything, because if you walk away with anything, ultimately it's because you're identifying with a character called you. And that character called you many times is the the reason for the continual search. The character of you is the reason for the continual search. And I'll just tell you, I am, I've been doing this work for many, many, many years. And what's happening for me is there's definitely a shift going on, and it's a big shift. It's very big, but it's the most obvious and the most simple thing ever, ever. And it's a little difficult to put into words, but there are things and concepts that point towards what's going on. Some of the things you know, some of the things you might not know, but I decided to call these the continual search gathering, because this is, which I forgot about the other day. So I was like, what is that thing called that I do? It's like somewhere else. um but the continual search is this idea that the character of you, of Max, of Jane, of Joe, or whatever, um, is in what's called the dream state, and it's constantly looking for the thing. It's constantly looking for the peace. It's constantly looking for the job, for the money, the power, the success, the whatever it happens to be. And that can come in a million different forms, right? That can come in a million different forms. And that is what leads us to suffering, and what leads us to this never ending loop of living in our own world of, oh, I got it, now I didn't, no, I got it, now I can, now maybe I'll get it this way, maybe I won't get it this way, maybe I'll get it this way. Because the separated self, the egoic self, the separated self will never ever ever be satisfied, right? It's set up like that, in the Course in Miracles, which I'll refer to because that's the main teaching that I've done. uh, the Course in Miracles says that the ego's edict is seek but never find. And then it goes on to say the Holy Spirit's edict is you've already found. It's very much like what I always talk about with Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and all of this stuff, because it's constantly saying no to that, yes to that, no to that, yes to that, no, yes, no, yes, and it's a very much of a subject object relationship that we have all the time, all the time. And most people come to any kind of spiritual work because of this, because it's the search. And these concepts are not bad. Nothing is bad. Nothing is bad. Nothing is good. As the Course in Miracles would say, is that we're giving everything the meaning it has for us. And of course, as Shakespeare says, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And it's the thinking that's the issue. So I will share with you what's happening for me, and we will open up to discussion, questions, comments. Nothing is off. No, you can talk about anything. It doesn't matter. We're just having a conversation here. If I can answer that, I can answer that. But I had a realization as as all this is shifting and changing and happening for me. I had a realization. I said it in one of a class, I think, the other day, and I said, I realize why I don't like to talk to people. And you're like, what? I like this. But in general, I've always shied away. This is me in my journey. Shied away from a lot of conversation with people. And I had this aha, because when you're having a conversation. Just watch. Next time you have a conversation with somebody, not always, but the majority of the conversation, first of all, it's about them. It doesn't mean that that's a bad thing, but it's about their process. It's about what I'm going to do in the future. What did I do in the past? How am I going to plan for what's coming up next? And then, of course, they want me to then tell what this character called Max is doing next, and then what they did in the past, and what are you planning for? Just watch. When you talk to people in general, this is what happens. And I realized, wow, that's one of the reasons why I really don't like to talk to people, because it's this kind of like, who cares? And that sounds really cold. And that sounds, but really, it's like watching somebody going around and trying and trying and trying. And it's like the rat race. It's like the hamster wheel, the hamster wheel. It's not that you can't, of course, you can communicate, you can have a relationship with it, but there's always a sense, and always has been for me, like, why, what are we, why? Because the majority of what you're doing in conversation, what people are doing in conversation, is all based on trying to get there. Plan this, do that. Now, there's, of course, there is no right or wrong here, right? But when there's a calling within you, that stuff just starts to become like, okay, okay. You start to shift your relationship with yourself. And I was thinking about this the other day, then we'll open up to what you think. What's happening for me on my path is that this character, Max, has learned a lot. I have studied, I have learned, I've done everything, and I've really, really dedicated myself to philosophies and spiritual philosophies, all of that stuff. But what's happening is that there's been a stripping away of all of that stuff, because it's almost like, and then I'll open it up to all of you. It's almost like I'm coming back to exactly the way I was when I was very, very, very young. Because I would look around at people. I'd be young. I don't know if you can relate to this at all. I'd be really young. And I would look around at people. I'd be like, what the fuck are they doing? I literally was like, why are all these people spinning their wheels and doing all this stuff? What is that about? Why can't they just be? And as I grew up, I was like, oh, it's because they have a story, and that story really needs to be taken care of, and that story needs to whatever happens to be. I don't think I had those words, but I started to conceptualize it from a very young child. But I was like, and then of course, then I'm like, well, then I have to have my story. And then I have to create a story so I can get in there. But literally, the whole time I'm like, why am I doing this? What's the point? It seems so strange to me, very alien to me. And so I say all that because I feel like I've gone 53 years backwards. And I'm like, who cares? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because what really is the truth is that I'm only here. Like right now, I'm here with you. That's all that's happening. That's it. That's it. Myself, my character of myself will start to do things, and I'll start to be like, what? I don't care. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So one of the things about this state, or it's not even a state, it's a whole paradigm shift of, and you could call it, I guess, non-duality, is that in this state, everything's allowed. I've been reading the Bhagavad Gita, if you've been following me, the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita really points to this a lot, not all, but it points to this real, and I used to say this all the time too, I still do, this healthy objectivity to everything that's happening. So either good or bad, tragic or successful, you don't change. You don't change. But when you live in duality and conditionality, you have to be like, oh, things aren't working out. So you go down. oh, things are working out, I go up, right? And so I know some of you very, very well, and you've already kind of started to have this feeling like, oh, that's the that's the beginning of the trick of the whole trick of the whole thing. And then I'll stop. I'll stop. One thing I want to say is that so everything is allowed. Nothing is ever rejected. You know, go, I shouldn't have this back problem. I shouldn't be in this situation. I shouldn't that in this state I mean, this is not even a state. This is this energy. You don't do that because you just go, I guess that's what's happening. Okay, I guess that's what's happening. So, okay, now I've talked long enough. So now you can raise your hand. You can say anything. Nothing's off the table. We're not here to learn anything. So if something occurs to you, just either raise your hand or unmute yourself and we'll talk.
Hi, Max.
Hey,
Thanks for
Lauren.
being here. It's so nice to see you.
So good to see you.
Missed you, even though I've been semi following the Bhagavad Gita when I can. So I think that for me, like you know, I just keep going back and forth. And I feel like for me, like my even though I'm very attached to my career, I have always had this very much perspective, like, I do not get why everybody is spinning their wheels about this. Like, do they understand this does not matter?
Yeah.
You know, whatever they say about, like, we're not curing cancer here. Like, I've always felt like, are you people? Why? I think my issue is for myself, even though I have that kind of whatever it is, I don't know what to call it, perspective, baseline, you know, I still, like you said, it's the duality thing. I dip in and out of it and I dip in and out of it. And I keep going back for that continual search of like, well, let me try to find meaning. Maybe I'm missing some, you know, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's something wrong with me that I'm not, you know, as invested as other people are and whatever these outcomes are. But then on the flip side, sometimes I do get really invested and it's definitely my ego. I love what you said at the beginning, you know, that ACIM quote, like the ego will never let you, you know, find peace or, you know, quote unquote win. And I do feel like that when I worked with you, you know, for the immersion course, I really had such a peace about everything. Like literally I got to the place where I was like, if I'm homeless, that's like totally okay. You know, I'll still be taken care of. Like I'll still get food at the shelter or, you know, whatever. And which is crazy amazing because that's always been one of my biggest fears is I'm going to end up homeless on the streets. But yeah, it is this continual search. And I mean, like even the word seeker, right? It's seeker. It's like you never find it. That's what I've come to realize is like, I'm never going to find it. And even when and I'm rambling, so I'll shut up in a second, but like,
no, you're fine.
Even when we read the Jed McKenna book, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really down with enlightenment. Like, I'm not really into it. I'm not really seeking it. I don't, you know, whatever. Go for yours, people who want to do that. I don't really care. All I want is to try to find some peace in this dream state. And that's it. Just peace in this dream state, you know? So I guess maybe that's just going to keep me on this damn circle.
Okay. So that's just a couple of things that kind of stood out, right? So one of the things about this, whatever we're talking about, non-duality or living in this way, this consciousness, this paradigm, is that it's the like as you were telling your story and your story and your story and your past and your future, that is where it starts to get like, for me, that's where I started to be like, aha, this is where it is. This continue, because like I was saying, when I was a kid, I didn't have an I was just like, what are these people doing? Why are they running around? Why are they freaking out? Why are they whatever? Because I didn't really have an I. Then I developed an I, right? And so this is like the stripping away of the story, right? But there, it really wasn't a story because there isn't anything other than right now anyway. So this self-identification to this character, to its dreams, to its goals, to its failures, that is one of the things for me that has really, I think, really catapulted me into this whatever I'm going through right now. Because the character, I've always been pretty much like, who cares, whatever, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, something has happened that this character of Max or whatever is like going into the ethers. Something's happening where it's like, it's, and what's left is that I just have to allow everything to be right here as it was, as it is. Allow it to be as it is. And it's very much this stripping down of the character, for sure. For sure. There's no doubt about that, and because you were in immersion, because I kind of talked about that stuff. And then you just allow everything. Nothing is ever resisted. And you're, the way you walk through the world becomes very different for sure. So, but I get that. I think that what your story is very common. Sorry
Yeah.
to say that, but it's
No.
common. It's like, oh, I was like that, and now
Yeah.
I'm like this. Now I want to get back. There's the search to get back there.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But
So
that's the story. So but that's also what just, this is a phrase that I'm really learning a lot of, right? It just appears to be happening right now. So I'm really angry, that appears to happen. I'm frustrated, that appears to happen. And one of these things that, this is why it's so interesting that this is happening to me, is that there's no goal. It's not like I'm trying to be peaceful. It's not like I'm trying to be happy. That's like, I don't care. I mean, but there's not even a me to care about that. That is just really starting to just drift away. What's left is just a pure acceptance. And there's this like giddy joy that's just kind of left there.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. That really does.
Yeah.
That's like, The Game of Life, that book by Florence Scovel-Shinn.
Yes.
Like the three things are fearless faith, non-resistance, and I think the other one is something like whatever, and unconditional love or something. And I was just thinking, if you can just remember those three things, that's it. Non-resistance. Instead of walking around all the time in such resistance to every single thing that's happening.
Yeah.
That's my story. That's this character's story.
Right. The resistance keeps you in the story.
Yeah.
For sure. But then again, there's nothing wrong with the story. Nothing is either good or bad.
It's just story. It's a story.
Sure. That's why this is so interesting, because it's not about learning anything. It's actually about, I don't even know it's about, really. But it's definitely not about learning anything, because the character wants to learn something.
Yeah, you're gonna move to the next level. Sure.
Right. Totally. You gotta you gotta up level.
Yeah.
What's that whole thing? 10 up or whatever that. Oh yeah. And it's just that, it's like that mental masturbation thing that's just like do 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 do. And I do really believe that there is a time when you just have had enough. And this comes at every stage along the spiritual path, really. You get to the point where you're like, I'm done. And then something happens. And then you go, okay, I'm done. And then something, and so I'm at this point where I'm done at the certain level that everything is, and it's really simple. It's so simple. It's so simple. Right. It's extraordinarily simple, actually. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yep. Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, Max. So if it's so simple, then why aren't we all there? That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Oh,
Well,
part of me wants to, part of me sits here and says, okay, I want to ask him, well, why does he think he got to this point? And does he think that if he didn't have that spiritual journey before with ACIM or other things, or Bhagavad Gita, if he would have ever gotten to this point? There's no way of knowing. And then that's me searching for an answer from you, and there just isn't one. There just isn't one.
There isn't. There isn't. But coming back to what you said earlier is like, why don't we just, if it's so simple and it's so easy, then why don't we just do it? Because in this separated state, we develop this character. And the character, once the character is developed, everything changes.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Lauren was talking about, Jed McKenna, who I love. I actually have a quote, but, when I started reading him a few years ago, and I've known about this before, but he says it quite a few times. He's like, well, first of all, there's no enlightenment and there's no waking up, really. There really isn't, because ultimately, then it then it proves that you were somebody that was real, that was asleep, but you weren't. You weren't. It's an illusion. That's the character that we believe is an illusion. So you don't really wake up, really. There's no like, oh, I got it, now I woke up. That doesn't really happen. But what I was going to say, Sue, is that he says, there's quite a few times he's like, you know what? There's people that this just happens to. It just happens. And they're not even on a spiritual journey, and they're not trying. All of a sudden, at one moment, it could be while they're looking for vegetables, or they wake up one day and they're like, everything is different, but nothing's different. And then they're just like, oh, okay. Okay.
Well, that to me is like, though, like Eckhart Tolle or like Byron Katie.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, from what I have known about their stories, is just like, whatever it is, I don't know what to call it, divine instant,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I woke up and I'm totally like,
right.
I don't know.
The self is that false self is gone.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Their stories are kind of like that, for sure. Both of them have that story. But there's quite a few people that have that story.
But then there's got to be something, because then they go and build businesses around, you know what I mean? Right. Around this.
Then they're going to get a story where they're going to teach other people. Now, do you see the conundrum I'm in right now?
Yes, I've been wondering about that. Yeah, like how do you go forward with teaching, quote, air quotes?
Yeah.
And
I just have to listen. This has been like, this character keeps going. It's kind of like, no, you can't. Oh, you can't. You'll be on the street. You'll whatever it is. But the other thing is like, I don't know if I can ever do that again in the way that I did it. Because I'm a totally different person. And there's a thing that just says, why are you going to contribute to people staying in the dream state? So yeah.
Good question.
This character doesn't know. I just have to allow whatever happened to happen. That's it. I have to trust that and follow that for sure.
Yeah.
And this coming up of like, this is what's coming up. This seems to be happening. This seems to be happening. That's what's going to happen. That's it. But it's, it is a very interesting thing for my character, but it's very much like, what's happening here is not very good news for a lot of people. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do this, because then they'd have to let go of everything, their story. They'd have to let go of what they want, and they'd have to let go that there is a meaning to their life. that there's a purpose for their life. See, their
Oh, yeah.
life.
This is what the word legacy drives me crazy.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
drives me nuts when people are like, well, what's my legacy going to be? And I'm like, like, no one's going to even freaking remember you. And like, I don't even care who you are. You know, like everybody's like, well, do you think millennials or do you think Gen Zers even know who Elvis Presley is? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, what's your legacy? Like, so I've never been into that. Like I've got to make my purpose or my meaning or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some people do have very like altruistic intentions about that. Like, you know, I want to be a good person on this earth and I want to remember, you know, I want to be remembered for whatever, you know, charitable contributions I made to the world. But, and again, that's duality, right? Good or bad. I just feel like no one's going to effing remember you, man. Just like get on with your life and
yeah.
Don't get so hooked into all this stuff.
Yeah, the hook, that's the thing. The self gets into the hook. We've all been there. We've all done that for sure. For sure.
But I mean, it's really hard to like walk away from it all. You know, I mean, I feel like even when I've been in that space of like, like, I feel very willing, like, whatever that definition of insanity is, like you keep the same things and you keep getting the same results. It's like I've been in those places where it's like I'm absolutely willing to just completely let everything go. And God, you show me whatever it is you want me to do. And then, like, you know, other times it's like, oh, but no, but
right.
God, that's really scary.
It is.
So, not there yet, you know.
It's such a trust process, isn't it? Such a huge, the ultimate trust process. I mean, there's no way around it. This is the ultimate trust process. And like you just said, you know, it's okay, I'm willing to let it all go. You know, the comfort of it all. I'm willing to let it all go. And God, just take it. But then you start to think about what that means when you actually say that. And I mean, I've said it, but I, you know, I'm not at that point where I can actually think of even giving some of my identity up or some of my comfort up and just letting life. I'm too much of a control freak, and you know,
think about how process, much both of you just like really described another story.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right. So right.
Which always reflects back on the self.
So true.
I'm not willing. I'm scared. I need to trust. There's no you there. Yeah.
Well, you were talking about Eckhart Tolle before in The Power Now, and I think we touched on this before, Max, maybe in the first session. You were saying, you know, because Eckhart Tolle is always about the awareness, you know, be the awareness, be the observer, as a lot of teachers are. But you said you feel like it's even beyond that. You're not even that.
No.
That it's not even the observer. That it's beyond that.
Because I was listening to something, or I was watching. I never say his name. Nisargadatta. He's a great, incredible teacher. And and it comes up in the Bhagavad Gita all the time. The small s and the big s. Small s self, big s self. And I'm not going to say his name right, but Nisargadatta. You can look him up. I'll tell you about him. Anyway, but he talks about how that small s self is the seeker. The capital S self is the truth, but they are the same. There's no differentiation between them, because if there was, that would be duality. So it's not like I'm going to get rid of the seeker.
Yeah.
But if seeking happens, seeking happens.
Yeah, right. It's just another way to look at what we learn in A Course in Miracles. Like it's different lens of what basically A Course in Miracles is saying. Like we are all one, we are all God. That's it. Period. End of story.
Right. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again, is that once you start to see that this definitely is non-duality, what we're talking about here. So when you start to really experience non-duality, you see duality everywhere, right? So the Course, there's things in the Course that I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Now, here's the deal. Just the fundamental fact that we're being taught that we're not already at one with God. That's duality.
Right.
And secondly, that there even is a God.
Yeah.
That's something separate.
Mm-hmm.
That's something separate. It's either a state you have to get to. The New Age part will be like, if you get to that state, then you will be with God. You know, back in the day, is if you flagellated yourself enough, you'll be with God. If you didn't eat enough, the aesthetics, if you, whatever it happens to be, then you would be one with God. That's all duality. And that's all just another story. And the character loves the story and goes, okay, I'll just flagellate myself enough. We all do that. We all do that anyway. Or I'll do the Course in Miracles enough. I mean, even some of the wording in the Course in Miracles now drives me insane. I'm like, oh, stop. Like one of the recent lessons, I mean, and I'm not, listen, I'm going to be really clear about this. Course in Miracles is one of the greatest teachings to me. I think one of the greatest teachings, really. It's very straightforward. It helps so much in the dream state. There's no doubt about it. But when I'm trying to look at this, I think one of the lessons recently, and I was like, wait a second. I forget what it is. I forget. Let me see if I can find it. But my point being is that God is love, and therefore so am I. So immediately that sets up, I've got to convince myself to be something other than what I don't think I am.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might give you peace in the dream, but it keeps you in the dream. It's all pointing to it's going to get you out of the dream because the seeker wants to get out of the dream. But actually what it's doing, it's setting itself up, you up, or I up, or maybe only people that, some people, into more of like, oh, there's me, there's God, and I am one with God, but I'm not already there yet, so I better read this lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so there's always something to do. There's always this constant thing, you know. And of course, you know, our world and Madison Avenue loves this because it's all about that.
Yeah.
Sales is all about this.
Right.
You are not pretty enough. You're not smart enough.
Well, you don't have enough. Yeah.
You don't have enough. Oh, it's all you don't have, especially in the United States. You don't have enough.
That's right.
But I bet you have enough debt.
You're right.
This is so random, but I was watching a commercial the other day, and it was putting prices for cars. I don't have a car, and I was like, "What are you?" I was like, "What? Are you kidding me? That looked like a normal car. $80,000."
Oh my gosh.
You're like, that just looks like a normal car. $80,000, and you know,
Wow.
there are people that are so into the search, into the need, that are making, what's the average, like $50,000 a year, most people, something like that,
somewhere around there.
Yeah. And then they go and get an $80,000-$90,000 car.
Yeah.
Talk about being caught.
Well, you know what it's like in LA.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh.
Driving Teslas and Mercedes. Meanwhile, they're like renting a $1,000 studio.
Right.
Apartment in Hollywood.
I know. It's bizarre to me. But that's part of this thing that keeps us like, and it, until there's a place that you're like, no, I'm not doing that. And the other part of that when we use examples like this, it's not bad. It's just, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. That's it. But
it's really interesting. Sorry,
Go
Max.
ahead,
no, go ahead.
No, you keep going.
I was just going to say it's very interesting because I've been on a health journey. I've had some health crisis and actually been housebound for 3.5 years. And I keep saying my priorities have shifted so much. And, you know, I just, I don't need this and I don't need that, you know, as long as I have my health. But then that's a qualifier too.
Yes.
You know, I find that as a qualifier too, that, okay, I've dropped the, you know, the cars aren't important, the houses aren't important, the clothes aren't important, you know, the gatherings, the parties aren't important. I just want a simple life, you know, and then I start qualifying. I just want a simple life, you know, I'm just, you know, in nature and that's all I need. But it's still that I can't have that peace without my health. I'm still there with that. So I realize, you know, that I say this out of one side of my mouth, but yet say that out of the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. So good.
Those
So
kinds of ahas, those kinds of things, for me, like when you were saying what I've gotten here without all the stuff, I don't know, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
But I do know that the story of this character, Max, all those little things, I guarantee you have brought me to this place where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Those little things when you go, oh, I'm doing it. Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And then there's nothing to be done or learned from it. Because then the self, the self wants to go, okay, so how do I now stop focusing on having good health?
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, the what's it called? The search for the Holy Grail.
Mm.
Like everyone's got the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what, it's that one thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when I work with people, I very clearly can find their Holy Grail very easily. I go,
bet.
It's the health. They won't even know it sometimes. And I'm like, oh, it's being married. That's your Holy Grail. Oh, being successful is your Holy Grail. Being healthy is your Holy Grail, whatever happens to be. And then everything in the story of that character goes towards that thing. And while that character is doing that, they're missing all this other stuff that's coming up. They're like, because all this other stuff is coming up, but they're like, I got to get my health better. I'm only going to be, or whatever happens.
No, it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be done about it at all. That's the thing. There's nothing to be done. But when it happens and you start to see it, you go, oh, a little thing goes click.
Ooh, that is hard to swallow though. Like, because you do want to do something about it.
Yeah, I know you do, no doubt.
I have found myself the past couple of days having a little more time on my hands because I'm just in this very particular place at work where I'm sure it's the calm before the storm, and it's like, I don't even know what to do with myself. And it's such an awareness of like, oh my God, you know, you have been so blinded about, you know, having to just get it all done, that the minute I have free time, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And I just had this realization like this morning of like, well, it was just more of like a request of my dualistic request to God of like, please just help me find joy, like everyday joy. Like, that's it. Just simple peace and joy. Not
so that's your quest. That's your quest right now. Your Holy Grail is joy.
Quest. That's the new quest. Yeah.
So there you go. Then it's another one.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is like, if they're like, even what Sue was saying before with, you know, the health thing and all of that. And then, you know, like, okay. And I was thinking, well, yeah, if I become this state and I'm just this state and whatever you want to call it, right? Just let's call it equanimity or something. Like, I'm just in this state of equanimity all the time. And then my ego starts going, yeah, that would be so cool, because then like people would be attracted to me because like I have this equanimity all the time. like
the
oh my
story
God,
starts and then it goes. Yeah.
it's crazy.
Well, what I'm experiencing for sure is that it's kind of like, how do I say it? Ambition can happen. Okay, that's happening. Okay. Laziness is happening. Okay, that's happening. Right?
Yeah.
It's not that it's and the whole spiritual trick, mind trick of like everything's always this way. Once you get there, everything's this way. That is the biggest holy grail and line of bullshit. Because but the point is, you do feel better. There's no doubt about it. Like I'm saying, there's like a childlike joy that comes with you. But you know what? When you have childlike joy, you also have childlike pain comes, or challenges come. You just don't identify with the story anymore as much. So you don't have that, oh, I got to get out of this thing. Like I was saying, that thing about everything is allowed. So what happens, and I'm really seeing this happening the last few months, I'm like, I guess that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. This is what's going to happen. Da, 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 da. Okay, I'm going to wash the dishes. Listen, I don't let my house, my cats like go unfed because I'm just in bliss. So like, oh, that's what's happening. I'm feeding the cats. There you go. I'm not putting any value judgment. Yeah, I'm just disappearing from the whole thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong. This is
No, I know.
non-duality. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, no, I'm just saying. Yeah. For me, that's what I'm really understanding that for sure.
But if there's no right or wrong, then aren't you placing judgment on yourself for what you do for a living?
Well,
If you're having the thought of like, oh, I'm just helping people keep, helping keep people in the dream state. Like, isn't that
I
you?
don't know what I'm doing right now.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing right now. Honestly. My
Okay.
character wants to make that start going there. And
Yeah.
then it goes, but I'm overwhelmingly trusting, I guess. There is definitely, but my character doesn't. I don't. Maybe I've mastered trust so much that I'm like, okay. I'm not saying I've gotten anywhere. I've whatever, but at the same time, I'm like, it definitely is for this character.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Like, oh shit. It's a little like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna tell people that they don't need to be learn anything. I guess that's what's happening because I'm doing these. So, but I'm
You
still
can just
running.
keep reading. You can just keep reading to us.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I'm still running my Course of Carol's in the Course of Miracles group with me. I'm still running those. And it's not really changing much. I mean, it is, but it's not, I'm still teaching it. Cause like I was saying, it's kind of like there are still what I'm really sensing to that in all of this character's history, there's tons of what's happening to me right now. So, and a lot of them are in the Course of Miracles. So it's not like I'm teaching them. We're just like talking about it. And I never really, I mean, I do, but I don't. A couple of you have been students of mine before. But the teacher part is like stepping back. Maybe what just comes up is I'm allowed to be a channel for whatever happens with that stuff. I don't know. I don't know. So
Interesting.
yes.
Nice conversation, Lauren. Thanks for all that input you had.
Oh, you too, Sue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Sure. Yeah, and these I just barely. I'll write a couple things down and be like, I'll just talk a little bit about that at the top and see what happens. So that's all.
I love it.
Yeah. And this character isn't having to go to the food line yet. There's two, I think two or three different I think on Sundays or Saturdays, right around here, at church over here, and another church
Right.
where there's a line there.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was a starving actor back in the day, way back in the day, we would go get in those lines.
Really?
Yeah.
Get a free meal.
I bet a lot of actors are in that situation. Yeah, trying to make it there in New York. It's such a huge population trying to make it there, you know, as you well know. Yeah.
You'd get a big block of this like processed cheese.
Oh my gosh.
And like some bread or whatever. And like, okay, free. I'll take it.
You survived.
That's right. Exactly. Totally.
Did you finish your acting class, by the way?
Yeah, it's been done a few weeks, and I'm probably gonna well, there's a couple of things. We're trying to the students, there was only 4 students in that class, and it was really fun and it was really great. We're now trying to get that teacher to teach us a class privately. So
cool.
That's really fun.
That. Yeah.
It's really fun. I love doing it.
So. That's so great. That's great. I feel like, does anyone else want to talk?
You don't have to. You can if you want to. If anyone else, doesn't matter. You don't have to keep talking. You can just see what comes up. And look at, just when you said that, someone wants to come in and we're almost done.
Oh, that's funny.
Let them in.
I'm into the silence.
Yeah. Look at the kitty.
No, she's so cute.
We all have cats running around in the back. I look like I had a Davy Crockett hat on before, I know, with his tail coming down.
I love it. I know, my cat just was back there too. Kitties. Welcome, Catherine. We're just about to be done at 10, so, but we're just talking.
I know, Booby. I'm sorry.
What?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. What did you say?
I didn't even know. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. Oh, Catherine. I know. Okay. Yeah, we're just wrapping up.
I just thought of you. Usually I was trying to make them and no, I couldn't do it. I just get exhausted after work, and then I'm running around and it's like, oh wait, did Matt said something tonight? I said,
yeah.
Oh well.
That's okay, Catherine. We're all good.
I'll say something real quick about that Richard Skipper. Yesterday I went and I watched he had John Mayer on. They're talking about Judy Garland, and you know how he does a giveaway for the book. I got the book.
Congratulations.
I won.
That's awesome.
I freaked out. I was like, I can't believe I won.
Congrats. That's awesome.
And I learned something in the meantime too. It was really, 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 really wonderful.
Oh,
I'm just so glad that you did that, because now I have something else I can look forward to.
I love that. Yeah, if you didn't know, I was on the Sky Richard Skipper's program talking about the Wizard of Oz, and he's a really sweet guy. Has some really interesting guests too, not just stars. So yeah, congratulations, Carol. That's awesome. And you have a rainbow behind you. Perfect. One of my students showed me, Christy, Lauren, your friend Christy, showed me during that interview that light was changing colors during that interview. And I usually don't like that because the light changes. It's weird. But before he was like, "Oh, leave it like that, whatever." But Chrissy was like, "Did you realize that the way it was set up, that the rainbow was going right into you?" And I was like, "Oh," and she took a picture of it. That when you look at it, it looks like the rainbow in the background's going right into me. I was like, "Oh yeah."
That is so cool. I
Love
love that. That's super cool.
I was going to ask you, this is just a technical thing. Housekeeping, you know, and they say that housekeeping.
Yeah.
I always think of someone scrubbing a toilet, and I'm like, that's not anyway. But I send these out in the afternoon. But do you think it would be more beneficial to send it out closer to the time?
I like it in the afternoon because it reminds me, and it's like, oh, I forgot about that tonight. So I got to block that, remember to block that time off, rather than I might not check my email in time to see it again. You know what I mean? I like it a little, I like the way you do it now.
Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah, it gives you a little
I'm
bit.
better off close to the time.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah, we're all different.
Yeah. I think I'm going to keep it like that. I'm going to keep it like that.
I'll just try to catch it next time.
Sure. And then one other housekeeping thing is that I was going to, I just download the audio, right? So there's the audio. Sorry if you hear New York happening in the background.
Yeah.
I just download the audio and I just put the thing, but I don't know if people would be okay putting the video up online for people to listen to.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Me.
I think that I just probably, because usually if I have a gathering like this, it's unlisted, it's not a public thing. But I think a lot of people, I've gotten actually people I don't even know have listened to some of the first two, and they're like, wow, this is really cool. Da, 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 da. And so, but I sometimes I think a visual is kind of good.
Yeah.
Audio. So, and then maybe I'll put a little disclaimer saying it's going to be put up. And
you can always block out the video. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Not be present. Yeah.
Yeah, you can keep your what's it called? Your video off.
Video off.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, friends. All right. Anyone want to say anything before we completely wrap up?
No, but thanks so much, Max, and thanks everybody else for being here too.
So welcome. You're so welcome. I was gonna, if you would like to, and some of you have been so sweet doing this. If you'd like to make a donation, I'll just put this in. You don't have to. It's really up to you. Doesn't matter. I'm just gonna put that in there if you want to. And the other thing I was gonna tell you, I think some of you know, is that if you haven't seen Good Luck to You, Leo Grande yet, you need to watch that movie.
Oh, okay.
Has anyone seen it?
No.
What is it?
It's with Emma Thompson.
Yeah. I did hear about it. Yes.
And it's really beautiful and wonderful, and it's about women's sexuality. It's about sexuality, and it's really great. It's on Hulu if you want to watch it. And the guy it's basically two characters, and she's, in her early 60s, and she's a widow, and she hires a sex worker, and it's just about. It's really beautiful, really great. And Emma Thompson can do no wrong.
She's wonderful, wonderful.
So
yeah, good.
To watch. It's very, very, very good. So
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.
Okay? Sounds great.
Okay.
Bye,
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.